We are back and we are live. It is Fight IQ presented by RotoWire. Here to talk UFC 265 as my face just disappeared. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, that's something. That's a new one. Anyway, this odd box here is the Daily Fantasy Sniper. We're going to talk UFC 265 where our main event is Ciryl Gane taking on Derrick the Black Beast Lewis. For some reason, this is for the UFC interim title. I know why. Let's just say it shouldn't be, but it is. Fun fight card, lots of money to be made on DraftKings and FanDuel. We're going to talk all about it. And more importantly, the guys who are going to give you the analysis for all of it, I'll just, I'm here to cause trouble, mostly. It is Chris Olsen. You can find him on Twitter at Real Chris Olsen. And Joe, better known as Sun Tzu. Guys, how you doing? You ready for this card?
I am ready, and I have to say, Shaun, you've never looked better. I must say. I'm very ready. This is a weird card because a lot of times it's like, well, I don't really love the card, but the main event saves it. This one is kind of the opposite. I mean, it's not that as Shaun drops out, but we will we'll soldier on here. It's not that I don't like the main event. I think the main event's fine, but I'm actually much more interested in some of the fights more down the card. I think that. It's not that the main isn't interesting. It's just more of a binary. Either one of two things are going to happen, and so there's not that much of analysis to be had. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, what makes this card better than it probably is that it's live. That it's in Houston. It's going to be sold out. It's Derrick Lewis's home state, home city. I was there at the last Houston event. I mean, it gets really loud. I think this is kind of, it's a so-so card, right? I mean, obviously we lost Nunez Pena, which would have been essentially a human sacrifice anyway, despite what Julia Pena thinks. Welcome back, Shaun. I just want to say just a personal shout out. Like, I had a really difficult week. And I want to thank everybody who kind of chimed in on Twitter and sent out some good messages. And, for those of you that think, companies give money away, they don't. And, certain jobs, the stress will literally take years off your life. And I was fastly approaching that point in the middle of the week. So I want to thank everybody who shouted out. I teased a 4-leg parlay that I personally put $300 on, which I will give out at the end of the pod. So if you guys don't want to hear our breakdowns, you can tune out for about 45 minutes and then come back in. Although I would say please stick around. But it would be really great if I could give out this parlay and it wins and everybody makes some money. So I'm hoping to do that as kind of a thank you for everybody who chimed in.
Yeah, much like I'm in the corporate world, and I'm gonna play off what Joe said. I've also had a week, but I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna channel into causing trouble here. Don't tune out for 45 minutes. I'm ready to go. Let's have some arguments. Actually, but before that, I have to tell you to make sure to go to rotowire.com/free for a 10-day free trial to all their premium content. No credit card required. Thank you to everyone at RotoWire for letting us do this show, talk fights. It's always a good time. To everybody watching live on YouTube or wherever, welcome back as always. Type those comments in. I want to hear them. And regardless, I should give a plug to on the Facebook. You can watch Facebook Live now and listen to recordings of the pod if you're not around on Friday nights. RotoWire RotoWire MMA, right? Right, Chris? RotoWire MMA for the podcast.
And I just want to say there's a lot more coverage now. I'm so happy to see it at RotoWire. There's middle of the week coverage. I mean, you got Chris Olsen doing stuff not only for DraftKings, but for there's just so much more coverage on RotoWire right now. I am so happy to see it. We had Jake, come on one of our pods, which was great. Neither Shaun or I, and I'm assuming Chris, really do this for money. I mean, this is we want to put information out there. I don't have a brand right now that I'm looking to build. So, this is a lot of fun. And I'm just so happy that RotoWire is really committing to MMA and DFS by, putting out all this content. So I'm not a shill. I don't get paid. I have no codes to give you guys. But go over to RotoWire. To Shaun's point, you get a free, no credit card, trial. Where's the risk? read the MMA content. I think it's really good and getting better. I will go as far as to say that, as all the major providers of sports information out there that aren't specialty shops, in MMA, RotoWire is right up there with with the content that they're providing now in MMA. And that's in a big part to like Chris and Jake and like some of the people who I haven't even met yet. So just again, I'm not a shill. I get no money for steering people to the site. So I would just suggest read some of the articles, see if you like them.
I do this for fun with these guys. I have a brand, but I keep it on the DL here because I do. I mean, if you in the MMA space, I do tons of stuff popping around. But this is the RotoWire space, and I'm happy to. I want as the bigger players do MMA. If they keep doing MMA more, it really is good for everybody in the MMA DFS ecosystem. So I want to see everybody. I'm glad Chris is writing more content. I'm always around to hop on podcasts and not just plug myself. I'm here to talk fights and have some fun. I think we do a pretty good show. And everybody at RotoWire, if you're watching this 6 minutes in for whatever reason, I'm seeing you next year in Vegas. I'm
going to, man. I'm making
International Fight Week. I'm in.
Chris, if I have to pay for your airline ticket, you're going to Vegas next year. I will give you frequent flyer miles, whatever you need to make the trip.
I must say, I am not a great flyer, but I will brave the trip
I'm going. And me either. I still do it, but I'm going next year.
And the last point I want to make before we talk fights, I haven't even discussed this with Shaun and Chris yet, or Jake. I am going to propose that we start bringing some guests on to do maybe a couple of fights. I mean, I've been talking to some people. I had some interesting exchanges last week, and I'm amazed that this person just happens to be a female. Get your mind out of the gutter. It was completely professional.
Speaking. How can I not?
Her name is Christine. She plays everything in DFS, right? She is amazing. The research that she does, just blew me away. She's part of, sites that, Shaun knows. We got into a chat and she blew me away with her knowledge and how much time she puts into studying MMA. And, she is one person that I want to have on to analyze a couple of fights. And there are other people out there that we talk to that are really intelligent that we should just get on. And you don't have to commit to a whole hour. Come on, analyze a couple of fights.
Too smart. I don't want anybody too smart. I mean,
let's analyze a couple of fights. Bad. And, she is on my short list. Christine, give her a follow on Twitter. I want to get her to come on and do a couple of fights. So we'll clear that. Now let's get to what we are really here for.
All right, let's get to it. Let's get to a fight that I think we're starting off with one of my strongest takes on the card, actually, which is interesting and could be deadly from a DFS perspective. Johnny Munhoz, 9,100 on DK, $22 on FanDuel. Jamie Simmons is 7,100 on DK, $9 on FanDuel. Line on the fight right now for the curtain jerker, Johnny Munoz, minus 310. Doing a quick scroll, he is now the second biggest favorite on the card. And actually, come fight time, I think he'll overtake Ciryl Gane by the time this fight goes off. Good inside the distance prop. Guys, I don't know about you, but I'm actually, because I said I have a strong take, I know I usually kick it right to you. Jamie Simmons sucks. He is, I know he's a pro fighter, and yes, it's hyperbole. Don't come kick my ass. And yeah, but he's to me, Johnny Munhoz should starch this dude. He could have put up a big score. The problem is Johnny Munhoz, I don't think is a top 15 caliber guy at any point in his career. I think he's going to be a serviceable UFC guy. He should smash here. So I'm gonna be pretty heavily invested into him. It's a little bit scary, but for me, Johnny Munoz is the play. I think it's basically UFC level talent versus non-UFC level talent. Chris, start us off this week.
So I agree with you. I'm just going to give one note of caution, and that is we saw Jamie Simmons one time, right? He came in on short notice to fight Giga Chikadze. He didn't look good, but I think that was very short notice, like a couple days. And then we haven't seen him for, I think it's 8 months. And so we don't know what he's going to look like. We don't really have any idea. And to Shaun's point, it's not like Munoz is a world beater. I do like him for his own grappling ability and the fact that he smothers his opponent. Jamie Simmons did not look good at all. I mean, he was touted as a wrestler, and this was when people were taking Giga Chikadze down. He couldn't even come close to getting him down. So it didn't look good at all. But these are the kind of fights, man, where these fighters can come in and look like completely different people. So with that note of caution out of the way, I agree with Shaun pretty much wholeheartedly that I think that Munoz should steamroll him here, but I will say that don't get caught by surprise. Have some Simmons, because if you don't, and he does end up looking better, nobody's going to have him, and he could break the slate. So there you go.
Joe, who you got?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, look, I love Jamie Simmons' nickname, the Afro Samurai. I mean, he's got this Bruce Leroy look going for him. I also like the camp he trains at. Pure Vita is a competitor, Rufus Sport in Milwaukee. They've got some good fighters training at that camp, so I think he's getting good training partners. Other than that, I do agree. I mean, you got a 10-1 Pedro Munoz coming in here. I will tell you that everybody is going to know. I'm sorry, Johnny Munoz Jr.
There you go.
Everybody is going to know pretty quickly whether my parlay hits or not, because this is the first leg of it. Johnny Munhoz Jr. by finish is the first leg of my parlay. I do like him here, but also to Chris's point, he's got all the advantages everywhere the fight goes, standing on the ground. He's got a reach advantage. He's got a height advantage. Well, actually, he might not have a reach advantage. I know he has a height advantage. So I really do have to look at him, as a key piece on DraftKings. But yes, I'm going to have a couple of shares of Simmons. I mean, we have seen stranger things happen in recent weeks, right? If for any reason other than to hedge my parlay, I'll have some shares of Simmons. But I really do like Munoz, one of my favorite plays on the card. I think he's going to be pretty popular and very highly owned. So have some Simmons maybe as a punt or a contrarian play. I mean, there's another contrarian play I like a lot further up the card, but I really do like Munoz here.
All right, next fight up. Everybody break out the chalk. Get ready to eat some that chalky taste out of your mouth, because it's Victoria Leonardo at 7,400, taking on Melissa Gatto at 8,800. Line on this fight. Obviously, something's funky here, because how I just prefaced that. Leonardo minus 115. It's a pick'em. It's going to keep going up, I think. Fight does not go to decision. Minus 150. Man, do you want exposure to this fight? Because Leonardo, big odds value, good inside the distance prop. Gatto, reverse odds value, in that meaning that she's going to be very low owned. And for what it's worth, Gatto is actually, according to Vegas, more likely to finish this fight. She's plus 150 inside the distance, whereas Leonardo is plus 275. So there's reasons to play both. Leonardo is probably a plug-in cash gameplay, quite honestly. I do think she wins the fight. She is my pick, Joe. The women's MMA GOAT. Someone I think in chat said he swings the shillelagh of women's MMA. Who you got?
I don't know if I said that or not, but
no, somebody in chat said that.
Oh, they did say that.
I think it might have been Nan. Not a shill, but got the shillelagh of women's MMA.
Nan is my man. Okay, so here, when I said further up the card, I meant the next fight. This is probably my favorite contrarian play on the card, and it is not without risk. And I am playing this purely on narrative. I do not pretend to know a lot about every fighter's camp in Brazil, but I did a little research on MSP, which is where Gatto has spent a lot of time training. I would challenge anyone to go to Tapology, click on her camp, and look at what is clearly obvious about her camp in Brazil. Every single fighter in the camp is a female. So this is a Brazilian camp that has some pretty high-level trainers and coaches that trains female MMA fighters, okay? Yes, she's been off for 3 years. Yes, she got her win against Carol Rosa by, getting a finish from her back. Yes, she was only a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of narrative around this fight. I am going to, because of the fact that I think she is going to be very low owned at 8.8K, right? 8,800,
yes,
I believe.
Sir.
Yeah, she's going to be very low owned. There's tons of line value on Leonardo. I am going to play this by narrative and say that she's gotten better in the last 3 years. She trains at a good camp in Rio, specializes in training female fighters, has a pretty good win, albeit 3 years ago, and is only 25 years old. Leonardo is maybe one of the least athletic fighters that I've seen, has pretty low fight IQ. Yeah, she's tough, and she trains. I think she trains in Louisiana with Andrea KGB Lee, but nothing really to be overly impressed about. I mean, I could see her following Gatto to the ground if it goes that way. So, yeah, there's all the line value in the world in Leonardo, and yes, this is an incredibly risky play, but I am going to pick her to win, and I love Gatto as a contrarian play for the reverse odds value.
Chris, who you got? By the way, the prices in this one are flipped on FanDuel. Leonardo $15, Gatto 14. So Gatto's the better play on FanDuel.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add to that is I've been following her on. She looks absolutely in shape and ready. Someone Shaun just put up a comment about, or Chris did, about how big she looked. I think she's ready to go here. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. I'm not going to talk people off of playing odds value, but I really do think it's worth a shot.
Chris, who you got?
So, yeah, wrong button. Let's go. There it is. Yeah, so I agree. This is another one that could maybe come up and bite you. There is the path is laid out. I mean, I think Leonardo's going to want to take it to the floor. We've seen her wrestle. We've seen her try to wrestle. She couldn't get Fiora down to the floor. I think she's going to be a little bit stronger in this matchup, although Gatto does look big, as the commenter did say. I do think a sub from the back is not out of the question here. She also, Gatto has a strange draw where she was basically on her back the whole fight, but she was elbowing from the bottom, cut her opponent open, and got a draw. So what does that mean? That means at least she has an active offensive guard with strikes and submissions. So if the fight does hit the floor, it's going to be interesting. The tricky part about this is if Leonardo wins with the wrestling at 7,400, she could put up a big score, and that should give you pause about paying up. But a few shots at Gatto for that sub from the back in women's MMA, it's more common. We see it more often, and Gatto's proven she can do it. So yeah, a couple shares of Gatto, but Leonardo has to be the pick.
Next fight up, Miles Johns, 8,900 and $20. Anderson Dos Santos, 7,300 on DK, $11 on FanDuel. Look, I'm all about Miles Johns here. I don't think Anderson Dos Santos is very good. Your only win in the UFC is off your back. I take pause. He's the guy I believe who's in the UFC because he's friends with Anderson Silva, correct? Is that the ADS story? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I think I'm thinking of somebody else.
You are thinking of somebody else.
Yeah.
About the Dalsim guy. What was his name?
No, I think his last name is Santos in some way. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, it's not him. Either way, I'm not high on Anderson Dos Santos at the point. I think Miles Johns can grapple. For me, I like Miles Johns on DK, not so much on FanDuel. He is my play in this fight. Dos Santos, because of all the odds value on this card, I will have very little Dos Santos. Chris, how do you have it?
Before I want to put that up, and I want to say, everybody, do please smash that like button. And
I'm a boomer. What does that mean? What are we doing? We're hitting something?
Are you a boomer? Who said that?
I'm definitely a boomer. I'm in my mid to late 30s with a child. I'm a boomer.
Yeah, it's pretty much over. It's pretty much it.
Oh, it's all downhill from here.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's funny, and our first major disagreement. I actually like Anderson Dos Santos quite a bit here. I don't.
Why?
Because I'm not big on Miles Johns at all. I think he backs up the cage too much. I think he shells up too much in that fight against Kevin Natividad. It would be the same thing every time. He would back up to the fence. He would shell as he was getting hit, and he would try to grab a single leg to alleviate the pressure. Well, if he does that against Anderson Dos Santos might grab that guillotine. He can't just go on the single leg as he could. I think Natividad is a good jiu-jitsu player as well, probably not as high level as a guy like Anderson Dos Santos. And we saw Anderson Dos Santos in that fight against who was it? It was Martin Day. That's it. Against Martin Day, I really think he came into his own in that fight. He was really pressing forward.
I want you to back up like 3 seconds. Who was it against?
Martin Day.
Yeah, that's right. It was against Martin Day, who is he's not in the UFC anymore. He can't be.
We're talking about Miles Johns. Who are we talking about? I mean, at the very least, I think
Miles Habib to you, sir.
I think that Anderson Dos Santos can outwork him at the very least. Very low output. Going to let Anderson Dos Santos be the aggressor here, and I mean, unless he finds a big shot, has he even proven himself to be that strong of a wrestler? He didn't get Natividad to the floor. His back is straight up in the air during all of those takedown attempts. I don't know. We've seen people who are strong wrestlers not be good wrestlers inside the cage. We've seen that before. The guy at heavyweight who lost to Greg Hardy, who was a college wrestler, whose name I am forgetting. But point being, we've seen it before.
Wait,
and
you're talking Juan Adams?
Juan Adams, yes, Juan Adams.
There's so much other stuff wrong with Juan Adams, but I get your point.
No, I understand. But I'm just saying, college wrestler, and also at heavyweight, where you would think, I mean, the wrestlers aren't that strong. You would think guy, but neither here nor there. I just think Dos Santos has a lot more ways to win. And look, I mean, Miles Johns was probably ahead in that Natividad fight, but was it? I mean, Natividad was coming on strong in that third round. He found one big shot. I just don't trust him to do that here. I'm going Anderson Dos Santos for the savings. I like it quite a bit, actually.
There's so many other underdogs to pick, in my opinion, but I don't have to wait long to argue about that. But before that, Joe, who you got?
Yeah. Before the fight got pulled the last time, I had quite a bit of Anderson Dos Santos. I mean, it was I can't even remember that far back, like the structure of the card. But I mean, he was an underdog that had a shot. And I agree with Shaun.
Chris, we're looking at your face.
Yeah, I agree with Shaun in that there are better underdogs to play on this card. A 36-year-old bantamweight is not the best to look. But here's really what concerns me. And again, everybody knows how much I follow the narrative. I mean, apparently he had COVID a month ago. And again, if someone can confirm whether it was him or someone in his camp, but like a month, like for a 36-year-old bantamweight, coming back off of COVID, that scares me a little bit. I'm not a big fan of Miles Johns either. I mean, he caught Natividad, with an uppercut and won that fight. But if you look at his 3 prior wins, well, first of all, he got starched by Batista. But if you look at his 3 wins prior to that, they were all decisions and 2 of them were splits. So, he could just as easily be, have a much worse record with several losses on it if he didn't get those split decisions. I don't really like this fight at all. I mean, I by default, I'm going to pick Miles Johns, and I'll probably have a couple of shares of Anderson Dos Santos, for the perhaps finish upside. But again, I don't really like this fight. And if we don't lose any fights between now and start time tomorrow, I think I'm probably not going to have a lot of exposure here. But I'll take a few shares of Santos. I'll take a few shares of Johns in case something happens. And, COVID, he hasn't really recovered from COVID and he just completely gasses. So that's the way I feel about this fight. It's a tentative pick on Miles Johns.
I just realized I promised you guys action and some being honorary, as this old people would say. I got to bring more of that out, which I see some of that coming. More so here because, in the next 2 fights, I think I definitely can. I'm going to deliver. First up, I'll get to the intro. Manel Kape, 9,000, $20 on FanDuel. Ode Osborne, DK 7,200, FanDuel 11. I like Manel Kape to win this fight, but this fight I think is the If there's a fight being overlooked on the card, it's probably this one for DFS. I think you have some big upside here with both guys. Ode Osborne doesn't go to decision. Manel Kopp hits hard, has showed some grappling against Alexandre Pantoja, and his back's against the wall here. He's 0-2 in the UFC. He missed weight. Like, he needs a big performance. And the way Ode fights, I think we're in store for some fireworks here. I think Kopp wins a firefight like that, but Ode Osborne is a live dog here. I think he's got more upside than somebody like Anderson Dos Santos. Just one of the other underdogs I would play on this card. Not so much odds value based, but there's a ceiling here. Again, just driving home, this is, I think, Ode Osborne is your sneaky GPP play of the card. Even though I'm picking Manel Kopp, I'm going to be pretty heavily exposed to this fight. I think we're in store for fireworks. Wouldn't touch it in cash games really either way. I might play Kopp. I started off the week a little bit higher on Kopp, and as he misses weight, and I'm looking at some more film on Osborne, I just think this is going to be a higher variance type fight. I have not changed my pick yet. I'm still on Kopp, but this is a high variance, fun fight. I think this is potential for fight of the night. I think for this one, we are on Joe first.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. I mean, I made a lot of money on Osborne's last fight. I believe Osborne might have been the first fighter on DraftKings to actually get the 60-second bonus. I could be wrong, but I was 100%. I was very short stacked that slate, meaning I did not have a lot invested, and I went 100% Osborne. So I have really, good tidings towards Osborne, and I won quite a bit of money that day. With that said, that was Jerome Rivera. No longer, I believe, in the UFC. That was also the 26th best MMA knockout of the year. Prior to that, he lost to Brian Kelleher. Now, the Brian Kelleher fight was at bantamweight, 135. Jerome Rivera was at 145. This fight is at 125. Now, I have not heard any reports on whether he looked good or bad on the scales. Honestly, I was pretty much working up to 7 p.m. today. So only thing I picked up about the weigh-ins was purely anecdotal. But, he's very muscular. And, coming down to 125. He also tends to be a fast starter. So Martin Cape, maybe needs to weather the storm.
That cut, by the way, reminds me of TJ Dillashaw. You have to worry about a guy's chin when they keep cutting and cutting and cutting. It could be an advantage in the power, Kopp could feel this power he hasn't felt before, flyweight, sure, but the first little jab could if he had a bad cut that we don't know about, Osborne can go to sleep real quick.
Yeah, I can't see, and I'm going back to 2018. I don't see that he's ever fought at 125. I mean, I'm just kind of going back right now. I see 135. I see 145.
He was in Ryzen or Risen. I never know how to say it. And I watch it. Risen. I always want to call it Ryzen. But no, this is his first fight to 125, and he looked okay, Joe. He didn't look. Okay. I wouldn't say great. I wouldn't say, but he didn't look bad. He wasn't Ryan Benoiting us.
Yep. Now I like Kopp as well, but having faith in Kopp is looking at this from a James Tahuna perspective.
It took 28 minutes. I'm going to start bookmarking how long each podcast.
Come on, look, does it not fit here? So he lost a split decision against Nicolau, which he might have won. He lost a unanimous decision to Pantoja. I mean, talk about two guys, to fight. This is a major step down. So if you're playing, and if you like Kopp here like I do, you're looking at the level of competition. You're looking at how well he did in Ryzen. And you're saying, okay, if he can't beat Ode Osborne here, he's probably gone. I mean, 3 losses, 2 to real killers. Okay, give him a pass. Third fight, step down. Now, with that
Welcome
said,
to Bellator, sir.
Yeah, now with that said, there's a lot of recency bias. And this is why people like Ode Osborne and why I'll have a few shares of him.
Thank you, Jimmy, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy the Drunk.
I love Jimmy. He goes out fast. But, again, I am going to get sucked in by the James Tahuna effect here. And I like Kemp here, and I think he's going to fight better. He knows he needs to be more active. He knows he's likely, fighting against the pink slip here. I can't imagine the UFC will keep him. If he loses to Odi Osborne, I think he's going to pick things up. Again, we know that Osborne is typically a quick starter, but when he does lose, he tends not to finish. So I like Kopp. I like him inside the distance. I will say have some shares of Osborne for GPPs.
Chris, who you got?
Well, before I start on this, I see three people who wish we were every week: Ryan, Gene, and Aldo. Thank you very much. We appreciate you watching and that you like the show. I will say, and I should note, that it's actually Kopp that missed weight. I believe he said.
Yep, 3 pounds, 4 pounds.
Yeah, that he ate some fruit, and that's why he missed weight. It was something bizarre, but
but Chris, wouldn't you rather have a guy miss weight by 4 pounds than by like a third of a pound?
Well, I mean, I think if it's like 3 or 4 pounds, that's not. I mean, I guess that's a lot, but 3 pounds doesn't really necessitate that he didn't try. Really, I mean, I don't know.
That's a lot at 125. Maybe it's not a lot at heavyweight.
You're right. No, you're right. Yeah,
It's one Derrick Lewis shit. That's all it is.
3 pounds of fruit. That's
No,
right.
the funny thing about that though is weight cutting is so. It is. We're starting to talk about it more. It is the gnarliest part of the sport. It is. It really is. I would bet a lot of guys would say that the weight cut, if you have a lot to cut, is harder than a 15-minute fight with somebody trying to take your freaking head off. It's not just the fruit he was eating, Emmanuel. It's that when you're trying to, it's basically starve your body, get all the water out, no food. You're just having certain electrolytes is the word I'm looking for. You can eat the fruit and it kickstarts your metabolism. That in a way you're trying to suck everything out. It's not that you had 3 pounds of fruit. It's that, hey, your body's like, hey, food, and things start going metabolically that you put on the weight. Now, I'm not an expert in it. I know probably more than the average person, but it's not just that he ate 3 pounds of fruit. It's that he did something that wasn't on his plan. That these are very scientific plans at this point for most of these fighters. That you eat something you're not supposed to, you're screwed. I know the Ultimate Fighter's back, but there was a season a few years ago, obviously at this point, where somebody, didn't make his electrolyte drink properly during a cut and passed out and went to the hospital and he got pulled. Like it is a really delicate thing, weight cutting. And I don't know what the right answer is. We could do a whole other podcast about it, but it wasn't just the fruit. And it's, it makes you wonder about Kopp. Is he all there? Is there something else going on mentally? Was it a simple mistake? Things happen. That's why narrative is good sometimes, and sometimes you go down this weird rabbit hole. In this case, 3 pounds, I'm not factoring into handicap in the fight. If it was more I guess that gray area of like, okay, he missed weight. Sucks for his 20%. Let's move on. I don't think it impacts the fight breakdown.
All right, can I go now? Thank you very
Sorry.
much. That's all right. No,
I thought it was an interesting side.
It was. Everybody learned something, but now getting away for the analysis. But I actually like Osborne here. I liked him before the weight miss, and the reason is, like, we've seen how inactive Kopp can get and stuck on the outside, and Osborne's got that big reach for this division. I think this one I think is 5 inches, if I'm not mistaken. So, I like that about this. If this does hit the floor, Odi can use his jiu-jitsu. We saw in Ryzen, that I will pronounce correctly from now on, in Ryzen, that when when Manel Kopp was taken down, he kind of got stuck to the floor. Now, we haven't really seen Osborne wrestle as such, but if he did, that could be a path to victory here, especially with his jiu-jitsu. So I'm going with Osborne here. I like him for this division. It's kind of weird to get a handle on him because his first one was Kelleher, and that ended quickly. And then you had the Jerome Rivera, that ended quickly. I still like what he brings to the table from his Contender Series fight. I think he stacks up well for this division and in this matchup, and I'm going Osborne.
All right, I'll keep the science lessons to a minimum. Jeez. Tough crowd in here. Try to be entertaining. And you know what? My whole speech, way more entertaining Then Karolina Kovalkovic, 8,300, $17 on
the
DraftKings.
transition. We love it.
Take it on Jessica Penne, 7,900, $12 on FanDuel. Oh, holy crap. I'm up and I still haven't played any of this fight on DraftKings. Oh my god. Yeah, no. Just no. The side of no, followed by more no. Yes, Joe, I know Jessica Penne was the background of the Creating Alpha podcast Twitter page banner for however long. She's got a great asset, but she hasn't fought recently. Until recently, she hadn't fought in forever. She's always injured, way past her prime at this point. I think she lost her last fight, that odd split decision. Karolina Kovalkovic, 4-fight losing streak. Yeah, it's against killers, or at least better competition, but it's a 4-fight losing streak. And if whoever wins this fight, they likely don't score well. It's going to be 3 rounds of striking. I don't think Penny's going to go for the grappling. I don't think her body can take it, quite honestly. Maybe if you want to make an argument, Penny's more likely to score better because I'm wrong and she grapples. But I don't see many reasons to play this other than nobody's going to. In terms of a fight pick, I think Karolina's a slightly better striker, but it's a low confidence pick, quite honestly. Just God, this is the fight. If you the proverbial make a sandwich or take a shit fight, this is it right here, right in the middle of the card. Chris, who you got?
Yeah, I might do at least one of those things, but as far as the pick goes, I
didn't say same time. One activity, just one.
Well, you can be efficient and go for both, but I think that as far as FanDuel goes, Kovalkovic might be more live there. I think Penne went 1 for 7 on her takedown attempts in the Godinez fight, and I think she made it a point to try to grapple more because that's what she has to do. She didn't do that against Danielle Taylor, somebody she absolutely should have beaten and did not right before she went on that long. Was it the USADA hiatus for the supplement that wasn't? Was that what was going on? But yeah, I agree. I don't think this fight is much of anything. I think, you might have something with Kovalkovic who's still going to come forward, still going to throw volume. But, other than that, I don't see a lot here. This might have been a little more interesting on DraftKings before they changed from 0.5 to 0.4. But now I don't think there's that much here. Like I said, Kovalkovic on DraftKings, on FanDuel is a little more interesting because of the takedown defense stat. And I think that if you do play on FanDuel, you really have to pay attention to that because it could literally be a slate breaker in some cases, not so much here. But I do think it makes it a little more interesting. My pick is Kovalkovic, but if I'm playing on DraftKings, I'm not having too much of this fight.
Joe, who you got?
Yeah, so I think we have 2 fighters here that have fans-only pages. But I like KK quite a bit here. I probably lost a lot of the line value. I am contemplating still making a bet on her. Yes, I am taking a leap of faith. She has taken some time off, has gotten married, is now training with JJ. I think Cody Safic, and I try to give props to people who, and sometimes I messed it up, but give props to people who give out interesting stats. Apparently, Karolina has lost like the last 11 rounds, but they've been 11 rounds against pretty good fighters. She actually took a round from JJ, which is quite interesting. She's now training with JJ. Also, I was at KK's debut back in Orlando when she made her debut in the UFC. So I have a soft spot for her, no pun intended. She's 35. Penne is 38. I really wanted her to retire after the beating she took in her last fight, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I've watched some of her training. I think she is light years better of a striker than Penne, and I think she can actually get a finish. I mean, Penne, who, again, to Shaun's point, is the background on Creating Alpha, and had a really hilarious podcast with Angela Hill called Two Straws. I think Penne took a life-changing beating from JJ and never really recovered from that. I mean, she had a USADA issue. She maybe lost that last fight, which really didn't score well on DraftKings anyway. I like Carolina probably better as a wager, but I may take a stab at her in some lineups simply because I think she can potentially get a finish. So give me KK here. High risk play in GPPs. A lot of the line value is gone for betting. Maybe there'll be some line value for playing her. But a lot of the line value is gone for betting, but I like her.
Chris, did you do this fight? I honestly forgot.
He started.
Yeah, I started.
Thank God we're done with this one.
You really did.
Alonzo Menifield, $9,200, $21 on FanDuel. Ed Herman, $7,000, $10 on FanDuel. Ed Herman lost his last fight. I don't care what you say. That was a loss. I was real angry. Yes, I played Mike Rodriguez. All right, I'm still angry. Anyway,
Oscar,
let that go. Yeah, it's a good job. Vet move. Look, it was a vet move. And props to him for being around the UFC this long. Look, I get it. Menifield, I know he's not a world beater, but he should be good enough to beat Ed Herman here. He's like minus 150 to win inside the distance. Play him in all formats. Play him in GPPs. He should win. I will say you should hedge back with Herman because if this fight if he can tough it out for the first 7.5 minutes, things are going to get real interesting real quick. I think Menifield will fade and Herman could just kind of grind him out of there. I prefer Alonzo Menifield much more. I think I'm pondering about 60 to 70% Menifield. I do think he gets a finish, but of those remaining lineups, probably about half of them or a third of them will have Herman too, just as a hedge back because this is just, again, this is a relatively low-level fight at this point in their careers. So give me Menifield, good GPP fight. I do think he wins. I want to play him in cash, but I'm a little scared. Joe, who you got?
Hands up if you've been burned by Alonzo in the past, especially against Devin Clark. With that said, I am going back to the well.
Got that one right.
Yeah, I'm going back to the well here, unfortunately. I also heard that short fuse Herman did not look too good at weigh-ins. He actually needed the hoop, which is not a good sign for a 40-year-old fighter. He is wily. You're right. He likely lost the last fight. He got a favorable call by the ref. I am nervous that if Lonzo doesn't get a finish quickly, that, wily veteran that Herman is, if he could get the crap beat out of him and not get the fight called, he might have something for Lonzo late, which is why you should have a few shares of him. But, with minus 150 inside the distance, you almost you're compelled to play him in all formats. So going back to the well on Lonzo, fool me once, fool me twice. I'm going back to Lonzo.
Don't do it to us, Lonzo.
Please.
Chris, who you got?
So I watched the vivisection earlier today, like those boys, and they both picked Ed Herman, which certainly made me sit up and take some notice.
Wait, Zane picked Ed Herman?
They both picked Ed Herman, and they were shocked that the line was as wide.
Could somebody slide into Zane's DMs for me and ask if what he's selling and where exactly he lives, and we can all go have a party?
I think Zane's been watching too many B movies. He posts his movie list. I think he's watching too many B movies. I'll leave my words. I'll leave my words if short fuse wins, but I think he's been watching too many B movies.
Well, for me, I agree. I'm big on Alonzo here. I just think, the speed difference it's a different stratosphere, right? And so when you think about Devin Clark and you say, well, he grappled with Alonzo Menifield and Ed Herman could do that too. Well, but at least Devin Clark is athletic. Ed Herman is just sort of waddling in the cage. Almost lost the fight to John Vellante. That was just them slugging it out with each other. And I just think that, look, so much faster, so much more explosive. If he survives, sure. But what we saw in that Devin Clark fight was, Alonzo Menifield was tired. He never gave up. He never wasn't in that fight. Ed Herman kind of sleepwalks when he gets tired. He was able to sub Mike Rodriguez when it came down to it, but that was, if they were standing up, I don't think I don't think that would have happened. And the other thing to note, Alonzo Menifield takedown defense, 85%, 80%, something like that. So it's not as if he's just, easily let's just take it to the floor. So all those things taken into account, I think you have to be on. Alonzo Menifield here. I get that people are snake bitten. Maybe they're having flashbacks to last week and what's his face who rode out the storm against what is his name? He's
talking Gritzmacher.
Gritzmacher, that's correct. Thank you.
Everybody under 7K won last, whatever it was. If you made money last week, you are like just like props to you. Good effort because last week was a week, man.
Absolutely. It was crazy, but I think you have to be on Menifield here. I don't like picking fights about maybe if this guy weathers the storm, then he'll win. We'll talk about that later too. I mean, you have to mention it, but I don't think you can pick fights on that narrow margin. I'm not going to bet on a guy to take a beating and then come back. So yeah, my pick is Menifield, and I'm going to be pretty heavy.
All right, next fight up. Draco Rodriguez, 8,400, taking on Vince Morales at 7,800. Draco 16 on FanDuel. Morales is 13. This line is this part is throwing me off here. And I find it exactly before I make the point. I'm confused now. Rodriguez is minus 120. Morales is plus 100. I'm really interested in that Vince Morales is plus 250 inside the distance. Same odds as Rodriguez, plus 240. It's actually closed up a little bit. I looked earlier, and Draco Rodriguez was around plus 280. So it's closed up a little bit. I thought it was interesting that Vegas has Morales more likely to finish this fight. To me, Morales is probably the better technical striker. I think Draco, to me anyway, is a little more explosive and can grapple, and I slightly lean him. Interesting mid-range fight. It's the one I've been struggling with. I'm on the Rodriguez side because I think he has more paths to a victory. I'm just plus 240 Morales inside the distance. Is it just because Draco got deaded last fight and everyone thinks his chin's going to fall apart? Like, that's weird. Morales is that high inside the distance to me. So I'm interested in your guys' take on that line in particular as you're breaking this down, because that number makes him a really interesting GPP play, which I wasn't thinking early in the week. Chris, who you got?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really get that either. I mean, it's not like Vince Morales is any kind of finisher, and
right, it's a weird number.
Yeah, I mean, and anybody can get finished once. Like, I would never look, especially a fight where he's winning the entire fight and then gets hit with one shot, basically what was one shot, and gets floored. I have to see that more than once before I call it a pattern. And even if I did, sometimes it's just a matter of your weight cut wasn't that good. Looping back to the subject of weight cuts, I mean, how many times have we seen it? Oh, this guy's chin is terrible, and then he withstands it. I mean, Andrei Arlovsky is the famous one, but we also have every time I look for somebody's name, I can't find it. The guy who got knocked out by Hammer Fist at flyweight, and then
Randy Brown.
Matt Schnell.
Matt Schnell. And then
good old yeah. And then all of a sudden he has a chin now. There was a time in Matt Schnell's career, there were 3 or 4 fights in a row where a gust of wind put him unconscious.
And then he comes back and has a chin. So I don't like calling fighters chinny. I try to avoid that if I can. I'm going Draco here. I think he's the slicker kickboxer. We saw Morales get his leg kicked off by Chris Gutierrez. I think Draco can do pretty much at least similar things. I don't really love Morales anywhere. I think he can do a little bit of everything. I don't think that's going to be enough here. Draco is pretty good at submissions if it does hit the floor, but I expect it's going to stay on the feet, and I like Draco to take this one.
So who you got, Malfoy?
Okay, so I'm going to go off on a quick tangent, really quick. Nan posted that he won last week for the first time in a while.
I knew that was going to get to Joe. So
you guys know how infrequently I stack in cash. Something told me that the cash stack in the main was good. last week, and I did it, and it really paid off and saved my ass in cash games, stacking the main. So I'm not going to say I won, but I'm going to say that it could have been so much worse if I didn't stack the main in cash. Now I'm going to tell you why I would never bet Morales. And the simple reason is this: win, lose, or draw, Morales goes home to the uber smoking hot Shino Van Hoos. Shino Van Hoos is an Invicta fighter. She's an atomweight.
I knew you were going to do this. I
knew
this was coming.
She's an atomweight. She fights. She's recovering from knee surgery. I just can't trust anyone that gets to go home to that. Like, how are you even going to focus on fighting? That and the fact that he was destroyed by Gutierrez.
I mean,
his cousin is Ricky Simone, yet he doesn't wrestle.
The last time we had somebody with a super hot wife fight, it was Joe Benavidez, and he took a nap mid fight just to dream about Megan Aldo.
Yes, and then again, this guy being related to Ricky Simone, having a wrestling pedigree, and having tried no takedowns in the UFC. I don't get it. I'm on Draco. It's not a highly confident play, and of course, if you're mass entering, you want to have a share or two of Morales, but I just can't back a guy with that hot a girlfriend. Shino Van Hoos. Lucky you is all I have to say.
That is a novel way to pick fights. I will say that's a difference.
Yeah, it is.
Next fight up. How are we going to follow that? Oh, you know what? We get a guy who would say all those things and more in the cage. Bobby Green, 6,900. He's $8 on FanDuel. Rafael Fiziev, 9,300, $22 on FanDuel. Look, you want a dog who's going to fight for your money? That's Bobby bleeping Green. Like, I'm a fan of Bobby Green. There's some guys who talking annoys the shit out of me. For whatever reason, Bobby Green does it, I laugh the whole fight. Like, he amuses me. And he's a dog. He showed he could grapple a little bit. He can strike. Now, Fiziev's going to be the better striker, more power. Could put Green down, but Green is tough. And if he makes this a dog fight at 6,900, if no dogs win, which is tough to say because there's so much odds value, someone's going to win. But I do think he's live. Like, he can, Fiziev is predominantly a striker. If Green can find a way to grapple here and close the distance, eat a couple shots, he's a live underdog. I do think that I am taking Fiziev, and the knockout potential is real. I think the striking will be too good. I tend to think his distance management is good enough to not let Bobby Green get takedowns, but the path is there. I'm not, there's other dogs I really don't like. Bobby Green's not in that list. He's especially interesting when you go to build lineups on FanDuel. I don't know if you guys have done that yet. $8, he's the cheapest fighter on FanDuel, and he opens up a lot. He's probably my favorite FanDuel punt on the card. DraftKings is a little dicier. There's some more odds value there. So Bobby Green live. I do like Fiziev. This is going to be a fun fight. I think this fight and the Osborne Cap fight, I think, are the sleeper fights on the card. Who are we up to first? It is Joe.
11 fights. 11 fights lost by Bobby Green. How many finishes? 1. Who finished them? Dustin Poirier. That is my problem with playing Fiziev in DraftKings. I don't know how he's going to score if he doesn't get the finish. And Green is very, very hard to finish. He's not going to get control time. He's not going to get takedowns. Can he throw volume? Yeah. Can he throw enough volume to earn his salary at 9,100 if he gets a decision? I don't think so. The way I look at this fight, it's just like, yeah, I'm going to pick Fiziev to win, but I don't see how you play him on DraftKings unless you play him to get the finish. And stats will tell you that he's not live for a finish here just by looking at Bobby Green's 27 wins, 11 losses, 1 finish to Dustin. That's it. Right now, Green on the other hand, like, he's going to score if he wins because he's only 6.9K. So he doesn't have a lot of wood to chop, to score well to get 10x. But if he doesn't, I don't know how he's going to score in a loss. So I don't really know what to do with this fight. I mean, I'm going to pick Fiziev. I can't endorse him. There's so many people that I like more than him in DraftKings. Watch him go out and start Green. But I'm going to pick him, but I just can't endorse him on the upper end as a play.
Chris, who you got?
Yeah, I basically agree with that. I think that it could be sneaky just because, I mean, let me just say I love Bobby Green as well, but I think his style is horrible for this because what he likes to do is basically sit back and try to counter. And if you do that against Fiziev, he's just going to light him on fire. I think that the grappling is live, and I agree that Bobby Green is a very underrated wrestler and grappler, but I just don't see it here. We should say Fiziev never taken down in a fight. I think the opponents are 0 for 15 or 16. I wrote it in one of my articles for this week, but literally never taken down in a fight. So if you're hoping for some grappling points for Green, that's gotta dissuade you a little bit. I do think that the finish is liver than it might be just because of how hard he's going to hit, of how hard Fiziev kicks. Some of those kicks against the Casey specifically were just, brutal to listen to. And so that might be a contrarian punt up if you want to do that, because I do think Bobby Green is going to have to take a lot of damage here. So that there's something to be said for that. But even at the 6,900 or 6,800, whatever it was, I don't like him on DraftKings. FanDuel, as you said, a little more interesting, Shaun, but I'm having a hard time finding the avenue for Bobby Green in this spot.
All right, next fight up, Song Yadong, 8,000 on DK, $13 on FanDuel. Casey Kenny, 8,200 on DK. FanDuel, $18. I prefer Casey Kenny. I think he's going to win this fight. I like the grappling and the volume. Song Yadong is kind of your power hitter. So, I think it's a mid-range fight. It's close for a reason. I prefer Kenny. I always like the guy with more past victory versus Song, who I think is going to be a little reliant on the KO in this fight. I know he's probably the better technical striker. I think on the feet, Kenny will out-volume him for points. So give me Kenny, not a terribly confident pick. And it's one this is one of the ones I'm not going to take a stand on, I don't think. I'm going to play a little bit of both guys as they fit and take my stands elsewhere on the card. Chris, who you got?
Yeah, I think it's me. Yeah, this is an interesting fight. I like Kenny the way he's basically weaponized his cardio of late. We've really seen him come forward, throw a lot of strikes, a little bit less of the grappling recently, but I think he's going to use it here. I think just because of the power, as you said, Shaun. I think, and Yadong's been taken down a lot in the last 3 fights. I think at least 2 in each of those fights. I believe that's correct. So I think the wrestling can come into play here. Yadong, I think, can be sort of overwhelmed by the pressure and the pace, and that's the way I'm going. But should be a really interesting fight. As far as, you always got to be careful for these mid-rangers. They could always come back and surprise you, especially in a fight like this. It's going to be competitive where both guys are going to be throwing heat, trying to score. But, I think there are better spots. I'm going to have more Kenny than Yadong, but I think either one can be sneaky. But my pick is Kenny.
Joe, who you got?
Yeah, so I picked Kenny earlier in the week for the RotoWire picks, and then I thought about it and I started looking at Yadong, and then you can argue that Yadong is 0-2 and a draw in his last 3 fights. I'm fairly confident he lost that fight against Chito Vera, lost against Kyler Phillips, and had a draw against Cody Stamann. 3 pretty good fighters. He's 23 years old, but he's apparently took his first fight at like 15, if you can do the math, or if you really believe his age. The Kung Fu Monkey. I love his nickname. And then I kind of moved back to Kenny, and I'm like, okay, split decision loss to Dominic Cruz. Came to, the main stage by having that kind of upset win against Ray Borg, which he probably lost. Beat Manny Bermudez, lost to the killer Marab, and then smoke Ali Tang and Wood. Pretty good wins before taking that split decision loss against Cruz. I do believe that this is a fight you should have some shares of both fighters in DraftKings, but I am going to stick with my pick of Kenny. I do think, to Shaun's point, he has more ways to win. So give me Casey Kenny here, but have a few shares of Song in GPPs.
All right, next fight up, We have Tisha Torres, 8,700. Angela Hill, 7,500. Torres, $19 on FanDuel. Hill, $12. I won't give them the fall asleep treatment, but it's damn close. Look, I think Tisha wins the fight again. I just think Hill is more playable on DFS because she's cheaper and sure she's live. She'll have enough volume. She throws a lot. I don't want to play Torres for the price. So Torres is my pick. Hill, I think, is still the better play. Relatively close fight. One, I didn't break down a ton because I saw the prices. I know who they are. Like it seems like a pretty straightforward one to approach for DFS, even if your pick on the fight is slightly different. Joe, who you got?
Yeah, so this is a rematch 6 years in the making. With Torres winning the first fight. They're both different fighters. I mean, Angela Hill, look, she has got other things on her mind. She's 36 years old as a strawweight. She's got a gig with the UFC, which is probably going to pay her more than she's ever made fighting. She's personable. They like her. It adds a level of diversity to their broadcasting team, and great, she also maybe has a better record than, you would think. I mean, she possibly won that fight against Waterson. She possibly won that fight against Gedalia. I mean, she could very easily be riding, a 3-6 fight winning streak instead of being 1-2 in her last 3 fights. So I get it. I like the way Torres looked in her last fight, but let's be real. That was not upper level competition. Torres kind of needed that win. She's 31. I thought maybe she was close to retiring. She's coming off a 2-fight winning streak. Unfortunately, I had a very large play on her against Rodriguez, which I really came back and bit me. One of probably my worst plays, in the last few years. But I do like her to get the win here. Would I be surprised if Hill won a kind of, in words of Cody Sapphic, greasy decision? No. But I like it for the win. I don't think this fight is very playable in DraftKings. I really don't see a finish here. I would probably go with what Shaun said in that Hill is maybe easier to play if this goes to decision because she's cheaper. But I don't really have a ton of interest in this fight on DraftKings. But I do like Tisha for the win.
Chris, who you got?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest either. I always want to play Tisha because in my brain always thinks her as a fighter who just my brain thinks her as the fighter who showed up in the last fight, who throws a ton of volume, is really active, and then gets takedowns. Then you remember who it's against, and you go, oh, okay. Then you look at her other scores, and you go, oh, okay. That's not always the person who shows up. But I mean, I don't think she's crazy as a cash play because I think that she can get that volume. I do think she's going to win. I think that historically fighters who have been able to back Angela Hill up and pressure her have had a lot of success there. I'm not going to have a lot of this fight either. I might take a couple shots on Tisha just in case she decides to keep that activity level up. But otherwise, I'm just going to give it to Pasadena.
All right, next fight up, Vicente Luque, 8,500, $15 on FanDuel. Michael Chiesa, 7,700 on DK, 15 on FanDuel. I've seen obviously the line is closed, and Chiesa seems to be getting a little bit of love, and it's a pick'em. And I'm on the other side of this one. I've got the reverse odds value, much like Joe is on Gatto. I'm on Luque here. Look, I know Chiesa's looked good in his foray up at welterweight. My issue here is and Chiesa's been pretty selective about the fights he's taken. I don't think this is a good stylistic matchup for him. Luque, Chris just dropped off. Interesting. That's not Chris. Hi, Alan Seslowski. I know who you are. You're on mute now. Anyway.
I'm back.
Luque hits real hard to striking. I think he's the better striker. The end up of war, I think Luque could really hurt Chiesa. Chiesa, his grappling is good. Luque is no slouch grappling. And the way I see this playing out is Luque is going to land something big on the feet. Chiesa is going to shoot a sloppy shot. And Luque has got a nasty Darce choke and Anaconda chokes. Like, he's really good at those chokes, particularly the Darce. I've seen him hit many times. So Luque's my play here, and Chiesa's getting a little bit more love than I would expect. Sure, I know Luque's shown a little bit, some vulnerabilities from the guy who thought was going to be a top 5 guy. I think he's that kind of borderline. I think he's between 5 and 10. He puts on fun fights. He can swing. He can do a little everything. He's entertaining. Stylistically, I like Luque here. Chiesa, sure, could he get a takedown and end up on top of Luque? I guess it's possible. I'm just having a hard time seeing it play out. We saw Kevin Lee choke out Michael Chiesa. It's not like he's the world's greatest grappler. He's above average. He's good. I'm on Vicente Luque here. I think he's got more pass to a finish and a big score. Chris, who you got?
Yeah, I'm all over Luque here. I'm not ashamed of this one. I'm not skittish about it. Look, I was
not that I'm skittish. It's that everybody else seems to be picking Chiesa, which is weird.
No, I know, but in those moments, I take it as a badge of honor to go on the other side. You know how it goes. But no, I think that I was looking at Chiesa's history for this fight. Who's the biggest puncher he's even fought? It's either Jorge Masvidal a long time ago or Ali Quinta a really long time ago. So, I mean, he hasn't really faced a lot of big finishers, and Luque is that. And Luque is going to hit really hard. The other thing is that we really haven't seen anybody control Luque on the ground, at least not recently. So we'll see how that goes. As far as your point, Shaun, to the sub off the back, look, we saw Anthony Pettis do that, and I think that Luque can do it too. We saw Jorge Masvidal choke him out again. That was a long time ago, but as you said, Kevin Lee. So it's not like Chiesa is invulnerable to those ground subs. Carlos Condit almost armbarred him, came very close. So I think those subs off the back are very live. Michael Chiesa has always gotten hit too much, has always just relied on the fact that he can sort of wade his way through it. I don't think he's going to be able to do it here. And look, if he can take down Luque and control him, go ahead and take my money because I'm going to need to see that first. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm on Luque very big, and we're just going to see how it goes.
Joe, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to complete the trifecta here. The last time Luque was controlled on the ground? 2013. He was 21 years old. He is an accomplished black belt. I will say he's a higher level jiu-jitsu fighter than Michael Chiesa, but he doesn't use it. He doesn't have to. I mean, let's not forget, look at who Luque has lost to. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I mean, Leon Edwards. Those are his 2 losses. Now, yes, he's taken damage in fights, right? I get it. But is Chiesa the one that's gonna strike him and hurt him? So what is Chiesa's path to victory? Everybody is saying Chiesa by sub. He is not, we haven't seen Luque get subbed, right? 2013. I mean, he's his primary martial art coming into the MMA is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I will tell you, he's a better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner than Michael Chiesa is. So if you take away the BJJ, how is Chiesa going to win this fight? Okay, yes, maybe he'll get some takedowns, but all it's going to take is 1 or 2 striking exchanges, and Luque is going to light Chiesa up. I am not saying don't have shares of Chiesa. There is incredible odds value in Chiesa. So I will have shares of him. But I am in on Luque here. I think this is going to be a relatively easy fight for him. And I think he's going to get the win, and I think he's going to get the finish.
Next fight up, we're on the co-main event. Jose Aldo, 8,600, taking on Pedro Munhoz at 7,600. Aldo, $16 on FanDuel. Munhoz is 14. I'm going to keep on picking against the King of Rio. I'm on Pedro Munhoz here. I think, again, stylistically, it's a bad match. It's not any huge disrespect towards Aldo, which I've seen people going on. Why is everyone disrespecting Aldo? I know he's among the featherweight goats. I know he's looked good at bantamweight in terms of making the weight look good. Today should have been with the nutritionist forever. I kind of blame that on Nova União and some of their shenanigans from years ago. It's the camp, which we all had, was a lauded camp for a long time. I think did a lot of harm to fighters rather than good in the long run. Anyway, Pedro Munhoz, I think he can make this a dogfight. I think Jose Aldo, I think he might look good in the first round. I think Munhoz is going to take over late. I think he lands big enough that he could hurt Aldo. We've seen Aldo hurt plenty of times. He lands big enough to hurt him on the feet. I think he's got better cardio. I think he's got a better sub game. Should Aldo start to get tired, he can get takedowns. There's all these paths to victory here that I lean Pedro Munhoz, and he's $1,000 cheaper on DK. He is my preferred play for sure. Joe, who you got?
Give me the young Punisher. Favorite play, sub 8K. I like him to get the win here. I think he will work leg kicks. I think he will work him to the body. Potentially live for a finish, although Jose Aldo is tough. He seemingly did okay making weight at 135. Although what he goes through to make weight is quite incredible. Eating like pounds of salad with no dressing. That's got to be fun. I'd hate to be a plumber. In any case, yeah. So give me the young Punisher here. I like him. I like him a lot. I think there's obviously real line value here. I think this is real line value, meaning real in quotations. So I like him here a lot. So give me Munoz.
Chris, who you got?
So the disrespect is disgraceful. I will not have it. I'm taking Aldo here. I think, I kind of alluded to this earlier when I said I can't pick on the narrow margins here. And this is another one of those where if Pedro Munoz comes through the storm, yeah, look, we've seen Aldo get tired and then lose. There's no doubt about it. But before that happens, he is really hard to deal with. Ask Peter Yan in those first two rounds. He wasn't having a good time. So I really think that and look, Pedro Munoz has been he's been hurt before against guys who have speed. Cody Garbrandt was touching him up before he decided to go crazy and just sort of throw that fight away. And I think Aldo is still really quick. Those body shots still really work. And I think, look, if he wants to leg kick with Aldo, try it. I mean, Aldo doesn't leg kick so much anymore. Maybe if Munoz tries it first, we'll see a nice little leg kicking battle, and we'll see the return of what made Aldo the featherweight GOAT, Shaun. Thank you very much. Not one of, but yeah. So I don't deny at all that Aldo can get tired, but if that doesn't happen, I think Aldo is just going to really, really light him up, and he might get so far ahead that it won't even matter, and he's just going to have to survive the third round. But I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want to be in that situation either. But, I'm going to have to go Aldo here. It's Aldo for me.
All right, it is main event time. Derrick the Black Beast Lewis, headline on the card, biggest underdog. 6,800 on DraftKings, ridiculous $17 on FanDuel. Let's just pause a moment there if you're going to play FanDuel. Terrible odds value for the price. FanDuel always prices up main event fighters, and $17 for Derrick Lewis is rough. It is a deep GPP play only there for me. I want to talk about a little bit.
Does FanDuel have an MMA product? I wasn't even aware.
They do.
They
do, and I'm talking about it because you can make some money over there because not a ton of people play over there. Ciryl Gane, $9,400, $23 on FanDuel. Look, this is unfortunately it's no earth-shattering revelation of the breakdown of this fight. Ciryl Gane is technically better everywhere. He's going to win this fight unless Derrick Lewis can land a big KO. You've heard it over and over and over again. We all know the breakdown is just a matter of how it's going to play out. And now you have to decide, I think more interestingly for us, how to play it for DFS. I'm going to be pretty clear on this one. Usually I'm a proponent of the stack. I am the one telling Joe you should be stacking. You should be stacking. Do not stack this mother bleeping. This is a awful fight to stack in cash games. If you're going to stack it, send me your head-to-heads. Cactus Jack 2 on DraftKings and send them over.
Sun
Yeah, just do not stack this fight in cash games. Do not do it. If you want to play one side in cash games, it is the Gane side. I think there's better places to go. Quite honestly, I'm pretty confident Gane wins, and he's playable. He's up in that range. I'm not going to slam you for playing him. And Derrick Lewis, you can play as a pure punt if you really want to. I think both these guys are cash viable, but not first man in, if that makes sense. GPPs. Ciryl Gane is the most expensive fighter on the card. Is he going to outscore everybody? I mean, he's got a good pace. He can grapple. He's live for it, but I don't think the point I want to get at is that this is not a 100% fight because we've seen Lewis be in low volume fights. It is Gane's first main event in hostile territory. Maybe the volume goes down. Or if Derrick Lewis wins this fight to be a third round KO, his specialty, or a late KO, he's not going to score well. Even at 6,800, that's going to be rough. There's a lot of big scores looming on this card. I'm not saying don't play 60 to 70% of this fight because it is the main event for a reason. Both guys have, Lewis could also land something in the first minute and break the slate. But there's a lot of paths here for the main event not to be on the optimal. And I think most people are going to jam in 100%. I'm going to be significantly under. And I'm going to give my hot take now in my single, and it's in my single entry. My single entry lineup in GPPs does not have the main event. My hot take is the optimal lineup will not have the main event fighter, a main event fighter. So, you see me in single entries or my Ironman contest. I'm not playing Gane or Lewis there. I went a different route. This is, I'm saying this realizing I'm going to get screwed tomorrow morning. Like we lose 2 or 3 fights Saturday morning, then all bets are off and who knows where I'll end up. But that's my hot take for the card. I think there's paths that this just not on the optimal. My pick, I can't pick a guy who just relies on swinging and banging. As much as I love him, I love the hot balls. I'm just as much of a fan as anybody else. I'll probably be rooting for him, but the pick is Ciryl Gane. Chris, who you got?
Yeah, H-Town on that boy. I agree basically with everything you said. What I'll say is that
that's boring. What the?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, like you said, this is kind of a
everybody knows the breakdown here.
Outcome kind of fight. Yeah. The one thing I'll say is that we saw a prototype for a boring Gane fight. We just saw one in his last main event with Jaron Chiesa Rosenstrike, where he's too afraid to go in because of the power. But he can always just stay on the outside because he's more athletic and faster than everybody. That's doubly true here. The only thing I would say is that, look, Curtis Blades, I maintain if he would have kept that fight just standing, he probably would have knocked Derrick Lewis out because he was just making Derrick Lewis swing wildly and countering. And Ciryl Gane can do that every single exchange if he wants to. He's so much quicker. I just don't know if that puncher's chance is going to materialize. I should say, and a shout out, our own Jake Latarski actually picked Derrick Lewis. He is the lone man in our RotoWire pick. So if that shot does detonate, he will, depending on when it is, he will be standing alone atop some lineups, I should think. But yeah, I think it's Gane, and I think that the Gane finish is maybe more live than people might think. I mean, Lewis is hurtable. Mark Hunt finished him. You can say that was back issues, but Travis Brown hurt him.
He just had to make a doo-doo.
I forgot. You're absolutely right. Then he farted, and it was all good. But Junior Dos Santos finished him in Junior Dos Santos' last win in the UFC, by the way, which is weird that he finishes the guy who is now fighting for the interim title, even though that title doesn't mean anything. He's still fighting basically for the guy who's going to fight for the title. But I think that the finish on the Gane side is maybe a little more live than some people might expect. I'm not going to have that much Lewis because I just don't see – like the puncher's chance it's on a sliding scale, right, depending on the opponent, and I don't see that many avenues for that just based on the speed of Ciryl Gane. So I'll have a few, but as Shaun said, even if he lands it, you don't know what it's going to do. Pick is obviously Gane, and the only thing I might say is that maybe the Gane finish is liver than you might think, so maybe have a little bit more of them. But otherwise, I basically agree with what Shaun said.
Joe, who you got?
Yeah, so, how would you like to make $3,000 with virtually no risk? It's pretty easy.
Sign me up.
No,
virtually no risk.
It's pretty easy. Bet $35,000 on Gagne at -350, and bet $7,000 on Lewis to win by knockout. Because I can't, and that will guarantee you $3,000. I cannot see any way that Lewis wins this fight other than by knockout. And I don't care how Gane wins. I do think he's going to win in the distance, but you can bet minus 350 and get plus 400 on Lewis by knockout. So there is a pretty solid ARB, and ARB by definition is a riskless rate of profit. Obviously, it's not without risk, but can anybody see any other way for Lewis? Can you see Lewis winning a 5-round decision? I can.
I can. I can explain it. Ready?
Yeah.
Hang on. Give me like 5 seconds, Chris. Go.
Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead and go back to Joe. I'm gonna.
Okay. So I like Gane here, right? I do like Gane. I think Houston will go crazy if Lewis wins, and for that reason, I'll have a few shares of Lewis in GPPs. Wouldn't touch him in cash. I really do think Gane can, play smart and win this fight. I don't see Lewis winning it by. I don't see Lewis winning it by knockout. Although I am not going to spend $42,000, risk $42,000 to win 3, even though I think there is a super high probability of that occurring.
I'm ready now. I'm ready. You ready?
Go ahead. Go.
Here we go. I need the camera on me. I'm going to do something here. Ready? Reason number 1. There you go. Adelaide Bird. Reason number 2.
Oh, I hate her.
Sal D'Amato. And reason number 3, Chris Lee.
God, I hope judges.
You have judges in Houston, and you're going to have a batshit crowd going insane every time Derrick Lewis lands a leg kick or fucking passes gas. Excuse my language. I just realized I'm on RotoWire.
You could say pass gas.
That's the F. So, look, you're right in theory, but man, Houston is just as bad as my state, New York. The judging is, we've seen bad judging in Vegas recently. It's getting out of hand, and
poor Miranda Maverick and poor me.
Would it really surprise you? Would it really surprise you if Lewis?
I suppose not. I just think it's highly unlikely. I don't think Gane is going to let it get that out of hand. I don't think he's going to allow the rounds to be that close.
I'm a little worried he gets deer in headlight. He's a deer in headlights and the score is poor.
Look, and then Lewis finishes him. Okay, fine. And then we score on Lewis. That's fine. I like Gane, but I'm going to have shares of Lewis in GPPs. I think everybody is at 6.9. You could do a lot with that price. So.
The biggest reason to root for Derrick Lewis isn't Houston going nuts. It is, and I saw somebody else say this on Twitter, and I wish I had the credit to give because I'm stealing this for sure. So I am stealing this. I want to see Derrick Lewis win, so the UFC has to try and sell us on Ngannou Lewis too.
Oh, wow.
I want to see the hype job for that.
I want to see the clip packages. I want to see what they look like.
I wanted to retire after that fight. Oh, that was so bad. It cost me so much. I was in Vegas during that, and I was just so depressed after that fight. I was in a tiebreaker with somebody for something, and they actually reached out and conceded because I had Ngannou in the main event, and oh my God, was that bad? I was really ready to. Gam Liu, who is a gentleman and a scholar and a well thought of MMA analyst, reached out to me after that and said, "Joe, don't give up." He's like, "Don't give up." Stay around. And then next week I tied for first in the main contest. So yeah.
All right, guys, we need hot takes here. Ran over.
Well,
I had a good discussion this week.
I promised everybody a four leg parlay that I am hoping wins, so everybody can make money.
Before you go, I want to get the guys in chat. If you have them after we go, I'm going to read some in you guys. So hit them up in chat while we give ours. Joe, 4-leg parlay, make us some money.
4-leg parlay plus 644 on DraftKings Sportsbook. First, Johnny Munoz versus Jeremy Simmons. Fight does not go the distance. Minus 190. Now, what that does is, in case Simmons is better than everybody thinks and gets a flash knockout, I get paid. If Munoz wins inside the distance, as I believe he does, I get paid. That's minus 190. Second, main event, Derrick Lewis, Ciryl Gane, under 4.5 rounds. This is a pretty popular play. A lot of people have been posting this up.
I'm seeing that bet all over the place. It's making me think this is going to be bad.
Minus 200. Okay, that is the longest odds of any of these 4 plays. Third, the young Punisher, Pedro Munhoz, minus 105. And fourth, Alonzo Menifield to win by any knockout, submission, or DQ, minus 150. Okay, I am very nervous about Munhoz, but that is the lowest odds play on the card at minus 105. For my $300 wager, the total payout will be $1,934.96. Again, plus 644 payout, plus 644 bets. But there you go, four different plays, parlayed, plus 644. Tail it at your own risk, bet with your head not over it. And I want to get everybody money on this. I really do. I almost want it. I want it to hit less for me than for anybody who tails it. So please, let's make money on this.
Guys in chat, make sure you tail that if you can. And I need some hot takes. Chat, usually all over this. You're slacking a little bit. Mine, I gave earlier. The main event will not be on the optimal lineup. Chris.
I am going to say Anderson dos Santos by submission.
Ooh.
Maybe a guillotine as Miles John goes in for the takedown there.
Why are you trying to ruin my night? You're just trying to ruin my night. You're just being mean. It's not even a real pick. He's just being mean.
Well, you're not going to play Miles John in your primary, are you? I mean, I hope not.
I don't think so.
I hope not.
Okay. Emmanuel. TT finishes Hill.
I like it.
See, that was and that's. I mean, I want to play Tisha Torres anyway, so people are just tempting me right now. They're tempting.
Look at that dog in sunglasses telling you play him.
Yeah.
Player, do it. Do it. All right, guys, make sure you go to rotowire.com/free 10-day free trial to all the premium content. No credit card required. Smash the like button. Oh, we got to do one more. Cop with a quick win bonus. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Where's my hot take from Nan? I mean, that guy never doesn't have a hot take. Come on, Nan is not only a very delicious bread made in tandoori oven. Nan is a longtime watcher of our pod. So come on, Nan, where's your hot take here, my friend?
You may have fallen asleep.
Nan is so much smarter than me that in any given exchange, I maybe understand 30% of what he says. That's how smart Nan is.
I like Jimmy cop via sub. Wow, all these guys cop. I like that fight overall to get a
we're getting specific here.
Club and sub. Okay.
That's I like it. I like the
Jimmy.
play. All right, guys. I gave you the outro already. I'm going to tease. If you saw it on Twitter, I got to talk. Joe, you have to hold me to this. I want to put it out. I want to have some kind of live event. DraftKings is going to hook us up. We need to, whether it's at your house or not. I'm going to open your house up to, the MMA community is a bit much, but we could definitely organize some type of MMA live event. I know we talk about.
Well, Shaun, wait a second. Weren't you party to there's a community center where I live that can be rented out.
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, so I was I was talking to when I had Mike, great guy, by the way, absolutely awesome guy. When I had Mike over here and John Stargarian, we talked about it a little bit, and we can rent this community center thing and get a big screen. Mike's got a projector. We would just need to rent the screen and then figure out how we could do the pay-per-view, do the stream with ESPN Plus, and maybe get a few other TVs and figure something out. So there's a possibility to do something. It would take a lot of planning, and it would be really, look, anybody who wanted to come could come, but Tri-State, I had a lot of people reach out. I think it could be pretty cool.
I'm down to help organize this. We have to come up. I think me and you need to discuss details. If we're going to do qualifier, if anybody can enter the contest, we got to figure some of this out. And I think we will nail that down. But I wanted to say something here to kind of hold our feet to the fire. I do really want to do this. I am talented with planning, event planning. It's past life, past career. I can kind of pull on some of that, and I think we can make this happen. So more details to come on that, guys.
Yep.
And I want to, since we stalled a little bit, I'm going to read a couple more hot takes. Aldo Estrada, Bobby Green wins in round 3. He meant if you go to the next one, Bobby Green in round 3. I like that. And drags it a dogfight. I think it's not the craziest hot take. And the last one, I'll do Jimmy the Drunk one more time since he's been good all podcast. Hill beats Tisha and Pennington does a heel turn and leaves the cage with Hill.
Oh my God. I don't believe it.
On that note, guys, for these guys, good luck in your contests. We'll see you next week. Come on, Raquel Pennington.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody.